I genuinely hate myself. What you're about to see is probably one of the most masochistic challenges someone could put themselves through. Let's be clear before we even begin, this is not a stab at the other gacha games. But Wuthering Waves takes the character design and animations to the next level. However, a lot of the newer characters, at least from my experience playing the game, they kind of trivialize combat. Their animations are incredibly flashy, and don't get me wrong, they're cinematic, but it's almost too easy. Don't get me wrong, this is not slander at Kuro Games. You can tell that they put their heart and soul into these animations. You can tell that they spend a lot of time, money, and effort into these characters. You can tell that they even love some of these characters. Every gacha company has their personal favorite. I'd say it's even quite
nice.
That being said, the new characters kind of lack the jankiness of the 1.x characters. There's something about the slow, methodical, just, I don't know, molasses-like movements on some characters. And no offense to the calculator fans, but Danjin absolutely clears in terms of fluidity, speed, execution of her animations. Just look at her here. And in this video, it's a Danjin appreciation post. It's a Danjin challenge video. I'm keeping Danjin at level 69. This woman, this menace, dishes out a lot of damage, all things considered. Now, this is not a Danjin guide. There is a good guide linked below in the description by Sarchi if you want to take a look at it. For her combos, I'm using normal attack twice and skill twice to apply Incinerating Will. And then for normal attack 3 times and skill 3 times to deal skill damage. This is what Incinerating Will looks like when applied to enemies. Now, this is not a Danjin guide, but however, I think it's important that I go over her kit. For her first sequence, whenever she attacks a target with Incinerating Will, her attack is increased by 5% for 6 seconds. She loses 1 stack each time she takes damage, which she does every time she uses her skill. Each time she attacks a target with Incinerating Will applied, her damage dealt is increased by 20%. Her third sequence is pretty simple. It increases her liberation damage bonus by 30%. Her fourth sequence is probably one of her more important sequences. Whenever her forte circuit is at 50%, her crit rate increases by an additional 15%. Later on in the video, I will show you why this is relevant and important. Her fifth sequence is nothing to scoff at. Her havoc damage is increased by an additional 15%, and another 15% when her HP is lower than 60%, which is not hard to do when you're playing Danjin. Final sequence increases her attack whenever you conduct Chaos Cleave after you do heavy attacks. For our first enemy, we're going up against the Bell-Borne Geochelone.
The hunt is on.
This particular enemy was not very difficult to fight at all. In fact, it only took me 2 times. It'll swing its tail at you, you simply dodge, and you just have to dodge a handful of its AoE attacks in order to survive. It stays on the middle of the arena and does not move much at all. Our next boss is Scar. Lucky for Scar, I can't really read very well. he does have Havoc resistance, so it will be a little bit problematic. Alright, well, very problematic. My first move was to apply Incinerating Will as quickly as possible so I can maximize damage done to Scar. Scar was probably one of the most problematic bosses that I had to fight. He's fast, agile, and has several combos. The other problem with Scar is that on his second phase, not only does he change up how he attacks, but he also regains full health. So you have to fight him again from 100% health. One of his animations, he'll go into a 4 parry state, where you have to parry him at least 4 times. After the state, he'll go into an enraged state where he will jump into the center of the map and he will charge you with another parry attack. I already have Incinerating Will applied, so I'm not too worried. All I need to do is finish up this fight and move on to the next. At this stage in the fight, I'm not too worried about maximizing damage through the heavy attacks. I save up my forte for the second phase, I dodge, apply Incinerating Will, do my heavy damage, and then apply my Liberation onto Scar. You have to pay attention to his moves, like this right here. He will hit you twice if you don't dodge in time. And if he grabs you because you don't parry, he will slam you into the ground several times, likely killing you, especially if you're playing level 69 Danjin. Right here, you'll see his 3-hit animation where he slams the ground 3 times. 1, 2, and then 3. The rest of the fight is pretty straightforward. I dodge, do my heavy attack damage, and my Liberation, and apply a Toon Break onto Scar. There is a particular parry that you have to get here, otherwise he will grab you and slam you into the ground like I talked about earlier. Now, truth be told, that was probably one of the hardest boss fights that I had to do for this video. That being said, WUWA is next. I don't consider WUWA too problematic, in fact I only had to try it twice. The only problem I had against WUWA was just how quickly he moves around the map. He is quick, massive, and his arena is just huge. However, the benefit is, he is not Havoc resistant, he is Spectral resistant. Once his shield is depleted, he becomes a relatively easy target for my Danjin.
Judgment. Again.
Somewhere between Scar and the final boss, I decided to upgrade my Danjin's echoes. My current Danjin has 85% crit rate. When you pair it with her Forte, whenever I have 50% or more on her Forte circuit, her crit rate goes to 100%. This means 100% of the time I am dealing 211% crit damage.
Sandal were carried away in battles. I didn't start a WUWA, did I?
This comes in handy when I go up against the next boss, who is Havoc resistant throughout the entire fight.
Let's get this over with.
This particular boss is a little bit easier than Scar. It still took me quite a few tries, but not as much as Scar. Take a look at this next animation. It'll suck you in and hold you where you cannot escape. You have to dodge the AoE attack, otherwise it will kill you. The most difficult thing for this boss is just your opportunities to attack and your opportunities to apply Incinerating Will. As you can tell, I try to strategize and maximize my Forte circuit, saving it for the second phase of this boss fight. Because in the second phase of this boss fight, the boss is still Havoc resistant. However, it is much faster and much more difficult to dodge because the attacks increase in frequency. This boss will enter the state after you break its shield for the first time. There's only a few attacks that you actually have to dodge. Take a look here, it'll charge you, however you do not need to dodge it. Save your stamina for the next part. Boss will teleport to you, and you have to dodge several times in quick succession in order to avoid getting killed. I finished the fight relatively quickly before it can get out of hand. This boss in this stage, especially at this level and this health, is an absolute menace to deal with. This was the most painful 2 weeks for me. I had to memorize every single boss's animations, Danjin's combos, which are relatively straightforward, however there's a few nuances which I might get into a later video. On top of spending resources to maximize her echoes and optimize them. If there's one thing I learned though, is that Wuthering Waves has a high mechanical skill gap. Wuthering Waves is fun, and Danjin is fun. Challenge is fun. And I didn't realize that until I started this challenge. Yes, the new characters kind of trivialize combat, but Danjin encompasses the core of the combat, dodging, parrying, managing your HP. If you like the video, subscribe. I'm gonna drop more Danjin videos. I'll see you guys later.